See? So now, this liberation, when it came, did not take away his intellect. He used his intellect to express the Dhamma, to express his teaching. So everything that we're doing is not an annihilation of anything. In fact, he says the only things that are annihilated are greed, hatred, and this fundamental delusion. Everything is returned to us in a purified form. So this dukkha, this unhappiness, this unsatisfactoriness, meaninglessness that might come about our lives is all resting on this delusion that somehow we can find the happiness in this human form. See? And we make the mistake of thinking we are human beings. But all we mean by human being is a conventional coming together of carrots and apples, isn't it? And then thoughts and images. And when you get it all together and it's all working properly, we call that human being. But when you take it apart, what is there? Okay? But it's just a combination of objects, which the Buddha calls aggregates. He calls them the 5 aggregates: the physical aggregates, the perceptual aggregates, the feeling aggregates, all the aggregates that we call our emotions and thoughts, and these acts of cognition, these acts of consciousness. And our process is to begin to see that all that actually is, it says in the scriptures, just bubbles in a stream, just like a flame which is constantly changing, just burning fuel, but in a constant process of change. But the flame looks one, it looks whole, it looks entire, but actually it's just made of a constant flow of energy. See? So these 3 characteristics are what it is we're trying to experience directly. And to directly experience these 3 characteristics is to liberate us from this essential delusion. Now you might think, therefore, that having been liberated from that, you just end up in a sense of annihilation, like there's nothing left. But the Buddha points out, keeps stressing the fact that he's not teaching annihilation. He's actually teaching that there is an experience which is beyond the phenomenal experience of ordinary daily life. And he points to that by calling himself the Tathagata. And the Tathagata translates best as the one who's transcended. The one who is transcended. So every time we move into the position of the observer within ourselves, we're transcending the body. We're transcending emotion. We're transcending thought. We're finding a very different position within ourselves. And when occasionally in your meditation there is that loss of self, there is that absorption into what we're observing, and with the loss of self you'll lose a sense of time, we're catching just moments of nibbanic bliss. And the problem with that for us, because we associate bliss and happiness with emotions, is that there is no emotions there. So when Sariputta is asked, you say that you talk about the bliss, the happiness of emotions, but there are no emotions in Nibbana. He says, yes, he said. It's the very absence of emotions which is the bliss of Nibbana. So there's a real conundrum for us. Huh? So as in your meditation, when you can stabilize at some point this observer within you, when you can stabilize that position of just being within the phenomena of your own body, heart and mind, feelings, emotions, images, when you can stabilize that position long enough, for those of you, who work at it, ask yourself, what is the mood, the emotion of the one who's observing? Okay? What is the mood of it, right? Just reflect on that for a moment. And that will draw you more and more to want to be in that place, because that's where the peacefulness resides. It doesn't reside in emotional life. It doesn't reside in the intellect or the body. Now, having done that, you might think to yourself, well, are you therefore denying the body, heart and mind? No, not at all. Because then, as it were, from that insight, you have to re-enter the whole psychophysical process. So the Buddha talks about right understanding, but then you have to draw yourself with right intention into the heart. And that right intention moves outwards into relationship, which is right speech, right action, right livelihood. And that mirrors back to you your wisdom, or probably the lack of it. And that's how you begin to understand that, oh yes, in sitting, yes, I can sit, it's lovely and impermanent. You know, I can feel pain in my knee and I'm perfectly equanimous with that. That's absolutely wonderful, you see. And then you're waiting for the tube and somebody stands on your foot. To hell with meditation. So that's what we're trying to do through the process of insight meditation, the vipassana, right? We're trying to see these three characteristics more and more clearly, and it's in the seeing that the liberation comes. Huh? When you see something, then it rebounds back upon your attitude. You know, why do I want to keep, doing this if it's making me unhappy? It's very simple. So the seeing is the first point. It then moves, as I say, into right attitude, and this we develop through the practice of metta, loving kindness. Now, those three characteristics, the characteristic of impermanence, the characteristic of how we create suffering for ourselves, the process, the role of sensual desire, and this teaching about not me, not mine, that's what we're trying to see. Now, what stops us seeing that are what the Buddha called these hindrances. And these hindrances you can split basically into two types. There's those types that excite the mind and keep it busy and take you away from this observing, and there's those types that drop you into the black hole. And dullness and lethargy, given a sort of moral twist by calling it sloth and laziness and all that, you see. So, as these mental states grab you, right, the meditator has to know, well, this is what it is, and this is what I have to do to counteract it, right? And one thing that I think has been quite confusing to some people from some of the emails I get is that when something comes up which drags you away, so for instance, some planning, you're planning a new business or something, or you're planning to go on holiday, and there's an excitement comes. When you know planning, you see, right, you come into the body, this is why it's so important, you come into the body and you get in contact with the excitement. And you're allowing the excitement to express itself, right, and to burn away. When you have a depressive thought and you're feeling depressed and the mind goes off and off about, the world's in a terrible state, we're all doomed, and I'm horrible, and all that sort of stuff. And you see, you come off the thought, you come into the body, and you contact the feeling of depression, and you go into it, you feel it. See? You're allowing the heart to express itself. If you find yourself arguing and you're getting very angry about something, you see, and you're strangling them, see? Then you say, oh, stop, see, anger. You come back into the body, you find where, if you can find where the anger is expressing itself, and you bury your attention into the heat. See? So you're not pushing anything away, you're not trying to run away from anything. Pushing away, running away are the usual way we suppress stuff. When something comes up we don't like, we either push it away with aversion, don't want to see it, or we run away from it, we turn away, we ignore it, right? All that produces psychological problems for us. Here we're not doing that. Here, when something comes up, we come off the mind and we bury ourselves in the emotional state and we give it the time to burn out, right? Some stuff takes a long time, so I don't you can expect to see true improvement over a period of something like 25 years. So no, I don't want to give the impression that this happens overnight. And what you're beginning to realize is that the emotional states that we've created have not been caused by the obvious object.